Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today, as it is every day, as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, all that types of good stuff. And we do have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. First of all, Matt Reeves gives us some details on the upcoming Batman project. DC has future big plans for Black Manta. I mean, it's not just Aquaman. They've got future big plans for him. We got a new poster for Terminator, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon doing a McDonald's Monopoly game movie, all types of good stuff. But before we get to any of that, let's clear up a little bit of house cleaning. Now, almost every day here on the show, we do a question of the day. On yesterday's John Campea Show, we talked a bit about how it looked like Marvel may be moving Avengers 4 up a little bit out of May and into April. And if it moves into April, that's the same month that Shazam comes out. So the question of the day yesterday was, should, and assuming that Avengers 4 moves into April, should DC move Shazam further away from Avengers 4? Now, I point out the fact that, look, even if it does move into April, it's still going to be 3 weeks away. I thought it was enough time, but I asked you guys, do you think Shazam should move to get further away from Avengers 4? And it was relatively close. But yeah, you guys tended to agree with me. Will wonders never cease. Finally. And 60.9% of you said, no, you don't need to move Shazam. It's fine where it is. 3 weeks is plenty distance, even if it does move into April. But still, almost 40% of you, 39.1% of you guys thought that, yep, they need to move this movie. So it's still relatively close. The discussion I'm going to share is ongoing, especially, I'm sure this will come up again, if indeed they make an official announcement that Avengers 4 is moving into April, then I'm sure this debate will come up again. But again, I just feel that even if it does move into April, 3 weeks between Shazam and Avengers 4 is plenty of time. Plenty of time. So I don't think it needs to move, but hey, we'll have to wait and see. And listen, also, before we get to some movie news stuff, it's time for our daily check-in with the stock price of MoviePass. Now, of course, MoviePass, about 2 weeks ago, was down to 8 cents. Then they did this whole 250 shares into one share merger to bring the stock up to $21 a share last week. And then it dropped all the way down to 10 cents yesterday. And right now, it's down another 30%. It is now down to 7 cents a share. So here's the thing. Right now, MoviePass's stock is lower now. Wrap your head around this. Right now, MoviePass's stock is lower than it was before they did the 250 to 1 reverse stock split. Because before they did the reverse stock split, the stock price was at 8 cents. Then they merged 250 shares into one to bring the stock up to $21. And now it's all the way back down to 7 cents. It's lower than when they multiplied their stock value by 250 times. That's where it is right now. So we'll check in again by the end of the show. The ticker is going like this. So right now it's at, let's see, 7.0 cents. So we'll see how that holds up. All right. Also, before we get to the main topics today, a little bit of off-the-top news here. Len Wiseman, of course, who directed the previous Die Hard film, and he's done some other stuff like that, like Underworld and things like that. He was recently asked about a project that was getting a lot of chatter, but hadn't been talked about for a long time, and that is a new Die Hard movie, Die Hard Year One. And apparently, everything is still full steam ahead. Apparently, they're almost ready to wrap up the development of this and get this thing shooting. So, according to reports right now, what Len Wiseman is saying is giving us a couple of details. Detail number one, that John's wife will be in it. So Holly Gerano will be in it, both as a younger version and as an older version. Bruce Willis is helping cast his younger self. So what they've also confirmed again is that this Die Hard Year One movie, not to be confused with Batman Year One, but Die Hard Year One is going to be two separate stories running parallel at the same time. So it's going to be a story about a young John McClane and apparently a young Holly back in the 1970s, and also running concurrently with a current story going on. So clearly there's going to be some kind of new story going on that is connected to something that happened to him in his past in the 1970s. So Len Wiseman said, Unlike what we did with Live Free or Die Hard, where they started shooting the movie before the script was 100% ready, and they were still working on the script as they were shooting the movie, Len Wiseman says, no, we're not going to do that this time. We're going to wait till the script is 100% done, and he says, we're almost there, and then we're going to start production on this thing. So I had almost forgotten about this entire movie, but it looks like, yeah, this Die Hard Year One movie is still coming. It'll be 2 running parallel stories in the 70s and modern day. It'll have Bruce Willis as John McClane and a younger version that he'll help cast, a younger version of John McClane back, and we'll have his wife Holly in there as well. No word on whether his kids, played by Winstead and Jai Courtney, no word on whether his kids will be involved in this movie or not. It sounds like it might just focus on John and Holly, but we'll have to wait and see. So it looks like this Die Hard Year One movie is still very much alive and kicking. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go on now to our main topics today. And what are our main topics? Well, our main topics are submitted by you guys. How do you submit a topic or a question to be one of our main issues here on the show? It's simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. Once again, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com, and make sure, guys, you put that word topic in the subject line so I know it's for the show. And as always, keep your emails to 90 words or less, or else I wouldn't even be able, I'm not going to read them because I wouldn't even be able to fit them on the screen if I wanted to. Okay, let's move on now with the first topic. And the first main topic today comes to us from Daryl Montgomery, who writes, read this story this morning that blew my mind. So, apparently this guy rigged the McDonald's Monopoly game to steal $24 million in cash and was in on it with a mobster, a Mormon family, and a strip club owner. They got caught, so seems there was this big bidding war to get the movie rights, and Fox with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have won. Affleck will direct the movie and Matt Damon will star in it. What do you think about this thing as a true crime style sort of movie? All right, for those of you who have not heard about this, to me, this sounds fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So, like Daryl was saying in his email, you know the game, the Monopoly, McDonald's Monopoly game they have, right? So this guy figured out a way to rig the system and cheated it to the tune of $24 million, right? But he didn't do it alone. He had, as Daryl pointed out, it sounds like a joke, a mobster, a Mormon family, and a strip club owner walk into a bar. But anyway, yeah, he had a mobster, a Mormon family, a strip club owner, I think an ex-cop, or the dude himself was an ex-cop at any rate. And they were all in this, and it was this big elaborate scheme. And they got away with it for a little bit and then got caught. So the movie rights to this, there was a big hot bidding war on this, including, I believe Universal was putting in a bid on it for Steve Carell to develop. Other studios as well were putting in big things. But apparently the big winners have turned out to be these guys, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. So from what I've read in the reports, the plan at this point is they've got a guy who's going to develop the script. Ben Affleck is going to direct this thing, which is awesome. I've been dying to see another Ben Affleck directed film. And Matt Damon is going to star in it. So that seems to be the plan. I'll tell you what, there's a few things, this is a bunch of things that I love kind of wrapped into one. Number one, I love true crime. So there's that. I love Matt Damon's acting. So there's that. I love Ben Affleck's directing. So there's that. And I love quirky, weird, true stories. A dude gaming the McDonald's Monopoly game thing with Mormons and mobsters and a strip club owner. It just sounds so ridiculous. Like, it seriously sounds like one of those things that is way too strange to be true. But I'll tell you what, this thing is now on my radar. I cannot wait to see this. I cannot wait to see what they do with this. Now, look, it should also be noted here. Just because they bought the movie rights, and just because they're going to be developing, it's not 100% guaranteed that this is a movie that actually gets made, right? We know this. But with the big price they just paid to get it, and with these guys attached, it seems that they're already pretty serious about it. So I'm looking forward to this. I cannot wait. To me, this is really exciting news. I think this sounds like it's going to be fascinating. All right, let's move on now to the second topic. And the second topic today comes to us from Warren Clements, who writes, I know not a lot of other people are expecting much out of this new Predator movie, but for me, it's hitting all the right notes so far. Anyway, I wanted to know if you saw the new poster for the movie that they just put out. I love it because it feels a lot like the original. Did you see it? And if so, what did you think about it? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Warren. And yeah, so a brand new poster for Predators Predator, I should say, has just come out. You can see it right here. And it just screams the original Predator, right? Like, just stylistically, what they went for in this thing just screams the original. And why not? Why not? Why not play on that nostalgic factor for marketing this new movie? I mean, on top of all that, you got Shane Black directing this thing, and he was attached. He was involved with the first Predator movie. So why not play on that nostalgia factor? So I'm going to tell you what, I look at this poster. Now, normally what I like to see in my movie posters is, there's different times that you look for different things, but a lot of times what I like to see in movie posters is an image that in one frame captures the spirit of the movie. That isn't this, but this is an artistic expression, again, I think specifically designed to play on the whole nostalgic feel of the originals. And again, why not? Look, we've heard the filmmaker say over and over again, this will be more than any other film that has had Predators in it. This film will have a similar heartbeat to the original film. It's not going to be, it's not a remake of the original, but they said it's going to have the same feel as that first film, unlike all the other Predator stuff that came afterwards. And I'm not saying everything with Predator that came afterwards was awful. Not at all. There was that one where they went to that other planet and there was Predator. That actually one was pretty good. I thought that one was okay. I did. I had some enjoyment with that one. But they've never really been able to recapture that heartbeat of that original Predator. Not in the Aliens versus Predator stuff, not in the subsequent Predator movies. They've never been able to get back to that. But with Shane Black involved, I feel like they can get there. And why not remind the audience of that, or really put that and plant that seed in the audience's minds by putting out a poster like this? So I'm telling you what, I think this poster is great. I enjoy it. The one downside with the poster, the one potential drawback with this poster, is that it does run the risk of people looking at it and just thinking it's a poster of the original Predator movie. Because, I mean, you could be forgiven for that, right? I mean, you could forgive somebody if they just caught this poster at a glance and just thought it was some poster for the old Predator movie. Like, you'd forgive somebody for that. I think they probably should have maybe done something a little bit different in there, just to really highlight that this is for the new movie. But other than that, I like it. I like the direction they're going. I like the artistic impression of it. I like the philosophy behind it. I dig the poster. I think it's pretty cool. All right, let's move on now to item number 3. And the third topic today comes to us from Moises Alagar, who writes, one of the things I'm most looking forward to in Aquaman is Black Manta. I've loved the character for years, and I think he looked great in the Aquaman trailer. My only fear was that they do the typical superhero movie thing and kill him off. But I saw an interview with the Aquaman director who says that Black Manta is actually going to be a major player in the DC Universe movies in the future as well. Could this mean we'll eventually get a Black Manta standalone movie? All right. Well, first of all, Moises, it wasn't the Aquaman director. It wasn't James Wan who made that comment. It was actually a comment that you're referring to that comes from the producer of the movie. So it's one of the producers of the DCU who's working on Aquaman. It's one of the producers of Aquaman. And just so we all know what we're talking about, this was specifically what the producer of Aquaman had to say about this character. He said, "We certainly have every intention that Black Manta plays a very large role, not just in the Aquaman movie, in the DC universe. He has to. He's just too great. And we give him his origin story in this movie. We do show how Manta, that we see in the comic books, became that character." So once again, just let me read that top part again. "We certainly have every intention that Manta plays a very large role in the DC universe." So what we found out here, I mean, to me, that's huge. That's a huge little nugget they just dropped on us. That this character is not just going to be a big character. Now, it looks like from the trailer, and I could be wrong about this, but it doesn't even look like he's going to be the main villain in this movie. I mean, that kind of looks like it's going to be Ocean Master or King Orm, Aquaman's half-brother. But not only are they just saying he's going to be a big major character in this movie, they're saying moving forward, he's going to be a major player in the DC universe. That's intriguing. So that tells me that the plans they have for this guy are they must love the character, they must have big plans for him, all that kind of stuff. The character design's great. I still wish the head was a little bit smaller. I got to admit, I still think the head should be a little bit smaller, but overall, it's a good looking design, all things considered. Here's the one thing that I wonder that might bother some people. Because I was on Twitter, a Twitter discussion with some people, and they were actually a little bit upset by this statement that they put out about Black Manta is going to be this big major character moving forward. And the reason they were upset was because they feel that that Black Manta quote kind of spoils or represents a little bit of a spoiler for the Aquaman movie. Because, you know, as one of my friends said, it's like, well, I guess now we know he doesn't die in Aquaman. Okay. But, and that's true. And I saw some other people kind of echo that sentiment, that they feel that that statement represents a bit of a spoiler. To me, I gotta say, it doesn't represent a spoiler to me. Because whether or not a character lives or dies, like unless the whole movie was about Aquaman, Black Manta, fight to the death. If that was the name of the movie, Aquaman, Black Manta, fight to the death. And then we find out that Black Manta doesn't die, well, maybe then that might represent a little bit of a spoiler, but generally speaking, a character lives or a character dies doesn't mean the character won or the character lost. It's just whether a character lives or dies. I gotta admit, most of the time, I don't think that information is really a spoiler. Now remember, I've got a bit of an extreme interpretation of the term spoiler. To me, a spoiler is a piece of information that if you know about it before seeing the movie, it fundamentally alters your viewing experience of the movie. And honestly, to me, knowing that DC has plans for Black Manta moving forward, that doesn't change, that's not going to change one bit my personal viewing experience of this movie. I don't know what Black Manta is going to do in the movie, and I don't know if he succeeds or if he fails, if he 10% succeeds, if he 100% fails. I still don't know any of that. All I know is that his heart's still beating by the end of it. He's still alive. That's all I know. So I could see why some people would consider that information a little bit of a spoiler, but I gotta say for me, it doesn't represent a spoiler at all. But that does bring us to today's question of the day. And the question of the day, guys, is really simple. Does the knowledge that DC has big plans for Black Manta moving forward, to you, does that represent a spoiler about the Aquaman movie? Do you consider that piece of information a spoiler? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Here's how you answer. In the description of this video, at the very bottom of the description, you'll find a link to the question of the day. Click on that link and register your vote and let me know what you guys think. So, I just announced it, but let's check in and see if any of you guys have voted already so far. And so far already, as the page loads, all right, we got 87 of you who've already voted. Right now, the no, it's not a spoiler group is in the lead at 68.6%, and 31, a good third of you, 31.34% of you guys are saying yes, it represents a spoiler. But guys, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Tons of time to still vote. Make sure you click on that link, go register your vote, and we'll go over the results of the question of the day on Monday's John Campea show. Now, as far as to the last part of your question there, do I think that this information means we're going to get a standalone Black Manta movie? Not necessarily. I honestly, I don't think it necessarily means that he's going to get a standalone movie just because they have big plans. Remember, he's the type of character you could use in a Wonder Woman movie. You could use him in a Shazam movie. You could use him in a Batman movie. You could use him all over the place. Much like the way Marvel uses Hulk and Black Widow and Hawkeye to kind of populate a lot of other films, you could do that with a villainous character as well. So maybe it means he'll get a standalone movie. I honestly don't think he will get one, but I think it pretty much means that they'll use him in other films as well. I give it a 15% chance that he gets a standalone movie, but I'll limit it to about 15% chance. So possible, but I think unlikely. All right, let's move on to topic number 4. And topic number 4 today comes to us from Fabiana Alfonsi, who writes, I heard you talk earlier about how no one has ever confirmed that Matt Reeves was working on a Batman Year One idea for his Batman movie. Well, it looks like you were right. Reeves just did an interview and said it wasn't Year One. It wasn't an origin story. It will be about Batman being the world's greatest detective, and that he may have a first draft ready next week. Did you read the interview, and what do you think about his comments? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Fabiana. And yes, I did read the interview. Matt Reeves has been, and Warner Brothers and everybody's been very, very quiet about a potential Batman project. So while at another event, he was coming out, stopped and answered some questions. Here's the basic points of the takeaway. Here are the main takeaways from what Matt Reeves talked, because he talked about a whole bunch of different things, but here's the main takeaways. Number one, as many of you guys I'm sure have already heard, this is not going to be an origin story. So to me, all I can say is thank God. Because we've had enough origin story, especially around Batman. We do not need another origin story. I don't need to see another Batman just getting started. So I was very happy to hear that. All right. Secondly, and this is the big thing, it is not based on Year One. Despite all the rumors and everything that it was going to be based on Year One, it is not. Now, one of the things that he kind of alluded to was that he was going to a lot of comic book source material to draw material from, to draw inspiration from, and I'm sure Batman Year One is one of those, but this is not a Batman Year One interpretation. One of the other big takeaways from this is it's at least loosely going to be connected to the DCEU. Now, let's look at what his comment actually was, and I'll let you guys kind of interpret it for yourselves, but then I'll tell you my interpretation. Here's what Matt Reeves said specifically when asked about whether or not this Batman movie is connected to the DCEU. And he said this: there are ways in which all of this connects to DC, to the DC universe as well. We're one piece of many pieces, so I don't want to comment on that except to say that I'm focused very specifically on this aspect of the DC world. I'll tell you what that sounds like to me, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. What that sounds like to me is that this Batman story is going to be like one of the Netflix Marvel shows compared to the MCU. Yes, the Netflix shows are technically in the MCU. They aren't in any way on a practical level connected to the MCU, but technically speaking, they are in the MCU, even though you never see any crossover whatsoever. You never hear, like, there's no practical connection between them, but technically speaking, they are. They are connected. To me, that kind of sounds like what Matt Reeves is saying. He's saying, look, yeah, there's a way in everything connects to the DC universe, but we're just one piece of many pieces, and this movie is just very specifically about this piece. Honestly, that sounds like you could be talking about Daredevil. Really. You could say, yeah, everything's connected to the MCU in one way, but Daredevil's just one piece of many pieces, and when we make Daredevil, we just very specifically focus on Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and Punisher. But we just specific on this. So just one more time, look at this comment from Reeves. There are ways in which all this connects to DC, to the DC universe as well. We're one piece of many pieces, so I don't want to comment on that except to say that I'm focused very specifically on this aspect of the DC world. So to me, that kind of suggests that, yeah, like the Netflix Marvel shows, it's going to be connected to the DC universe, but don't expect to see any real practical crossover. Don't expect a Wonder Woman, and don't expect a Flash, and don't expect stuff like that. I think this is going to be very much just a Batman movie. Anyway, let's go back over and see what else he kind of had to say about this. Now, this was interesting. He claims, one of the things he says is that Ben Affleck, is still involved. That was the word he used. He says Affleck is still involved. Now, he does not say that Affleck is acting in it whatsoever. We know for a fact that Matt Reeves was out interviewing other actors, potential actors to play Batman. That was confirmed by many news outlets that those conversations had happened. We know a couple of them, who we know Jake Gyllenhaal was one of the guys that he was talking to and all that kind of stuff. Now, Matt Reeves, when asked if Affleck was still involved, Matt Reeves says he's still involved, but involved in a creative process, not involved at all. Here's my theory on this. My theory is that Ben Affleck is not involved in any way. But if you're Matt Reeves, what else are you supposed to say? Because if you're point blank asked if Ben Affleck was still involved, if you say no, then boom, that's the explosion, right? That sets off an explosion in the news cycle. That's all anybody's going to talk about. The headline here, it's official. Matt Reeves just confirmed Ben Affleck's out, blah, 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 blah. You can't do that. That's not what you want the headlines to be right now. So what do? You say, you be very, very coy about it, and you be very vague about it, and you say, oh yeah, Ben Affleck's still involved. Not saying he's acting in it, not saying he's doing this, not saying do that. He just used the word involved. So that way, it just keeps the question in the air. Now, you guys remember, I talked about a month and a half ago that I had heard through some people that with the new leadership at DC, with Walter Hamada now leading things, that there was a much, I'm not going to say it's warm, but a much warmer relationship between Hamada and Affleck's camp than there was between the previous leadership of DC and Affleck's camp, and that the situation there may have warmed up a little bit. Whether that was leading to anything, I had no idea. But also, it's important to keep this in mind. We have been saying this for 2 years. Ben Affleck still has one movie left on his contract. Who's to say that that one movie won't be the Matt Reeves Batman? Who's to say? Even if it's to do like a Die Hard Year One thing where there's Bruce Willis in the present or Ben Affleck in the present, and then a younger version of Batman running in a parallel story from the 1980s, or when Batman was 24 years old. I don't know, like something like 20 years ago, right? Who's to say that's not the case? Look, honestly, I don't think Ben Affleck is going to be in Matt Reeves' Batman. I don't think he's going to be involved in it in any way. But we cannot discount the possibility. Again, the big thing here is he still has one film left on that contract that Warner Brothers can cash in on and that they can use. We cannot discount the fact that I think that DC under new leadership, I think, has warmed the relationship a little bit between Ben and the studio. So while I do not believe Ben Affleck is going to be involved in this film in any way, I don't think we can just dismiss it 100% and throw it out the window. Again, there's still one contract left. Things have changed a little bit, so we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go over some of the other talking points from Matt Reeves' thing here. He also said he made no official comment on any casting whatsoever, which is not surprising at this point. He also said that one of the highlights of the movie that they're going for is to focus on the world's greatest detective aspect of Batman. One of the complaints that a lot of people have had about the various incarnations of Batman is that there wasn't really a good focus on the detective aspect of Batman. Matt Reeves is saying he is going to focus on that. Now, how well that actually works out, we'll have to wait and see. But I think hearing that he is at least focusing on that a bit is going to make a lot of people happy. He goes on from that and says, the first draft of the script is almost done. Look, I can tell you with certainty that the first draft of the script was supposed to be submitted in October. So we're November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. So he's late. He's a little late. But yeah, the first draft was supposed, from what I understand, was supposed to be submitted back in October or November. But he was focused on other things. Matt Reeves was focused on other things. So, I mean, it is what it is. But he says he's close to having not the script finished, but the first draft finished. And that led into that there is a possibility that they could start shooting next summer. So it is possible, he's saying, that they could start shooting a new Batman movie in the summer of 2019, or 1 year from now, which would probably mean a late 2020 new Batman movie if everything goes according to plan. And when in Hollywood does anything ever go completely according to plan? Almost never. But if everything goes according to plan, the first draft works out great, they keep developing the script, they get it right, they might be able to start filming summer of next year. So we could be looking at a late 2020 Batman movie. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. So I think a load of really interesting things in there. Some stuff we already kind of guessed and already kind of knew, but it was good to hear him say them anyway. I mean, this is the first real update on the Batman film we've had in forever. So any information at this point is good information. So what do we definitively know? Pretty much nothing. I mean, even after all these talking points, we still don't really know anything. I mean, it's not an origin story, but a lot of us suspected it wouldn't be. It's not based on year one. Well, there was never any confirmation that it was based on year one. The whole loosely connected to the DCU thing, we've kind of suspected. There's still a big uncertainty surrounding Ben Affleck. We still don't know anything about the casting. It is nice hearing that he's going to focus on World's Greatest Detective. So really, what did we learn definitively? Not much, except that the first draft of the script is almost done. He says maybe even sometime next week he could have the first draft done, which is progress at this point. Anyway, let's move on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Fabian Benavides, who writes, do you think movie trailers are getting more deceptive lately? For instance, in Infinity War, I was waiting for the Hulk to fight like the trailer showed, but that didn't happen. And recently in Mission Impossible Fallout, I was waiting for the scene where Ethan is about to crash into a truck while he is flying a helicopter like the trailer showed, thinking of how he will get out of that situation, but that also didn't happen. It's like Rogue One level marketing. All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And this is a topic that comes up every once in a while. I do feel like more and more we've been seeing movies where we're realizing, hey man, the trailer showed something and it's not in the movie. Rogue One was real bad. There was a ton of crap in the Rogue One trailers that were not in the movie. Obviously, as pointed out there and as Ray put in the image here, the big one from Avengers Infinity War was, of course, this shot is not in the movie, particularly because Hulk is never in the battle at Wakanda. We all know that now, right? So we know Hulk is never in that battle. Now, I'm willing to give Marvel a pass on that one because I believe that was specifically for misdirection. And when you're a film franchise that has been building for 10 years over however many movies there were, 16 or whatever at the time, over 16 movies in 10 years and blah, 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 I'll give you a bit of a pass to want to engage a little bit in misdirection. So me personally, I'll give Marvel a bit of a pass on that one. But I mean, we don't give Disney a pass. The worst, I bring this up all the time, to me, the worst example of misleading and deceptive marketing is another Disney film. This is going back a ways. And it was remember that movie, Bridge to Terabithia? Remember that one? The trailers made it look like this fantasy, whimsical thing about these children discovering a imaginary or mystical kingdom in the forest and blah, blah, blah. That's what the trailers made it look like. The movie was something completely different. And by the way, it was a good movie, but it was a radically different movie than what those trailers were promising. It was a dark movie, and it was tragic. And it had some very difficult things in it, like the death of a child and things like that. And I remember hearing from parents who were outraged because they took their little kid thinking they're going to get this fantasy world movie, yay, an adventure and fantasy and blah, blah. And it turned into this dark, very real, tragic thing. And it's like, I did not know that. I would not have brought my kid to this, and there were some people who were very upset. Speaking of Mission Impossible, this one down here, right? This shot with him flying the helicopter looks like he's about to hit the truck. Not in the movie. Not in the movie at all. But Mission Impossible is one of the other big offenders when it comes to deceptive marketing. I believe it was Mission Impossible 2. It was the one with Anthony Hopkins, right? The Mission Impossible 2 trailers were loaded with Anthony Hopkins. And all the trailers were starring Tom Cruise and Anthony Hopkins. And like a good 30 to 40% of those trailers were Anthony Hopkins given lines, right? Then we go see Mission Impossible 2, and Anthony Hopkins is in like 5 minutes of the movie. Like 5 minutes of the film, and then he's out. It was crazy. Like the marketing promised an Anthony Hopkins co-starring movie. And not that at all. But now we get into more movies, like you're talking about Rogue One. We're talking about the Mission Impossible. Now look, here's where I draw a line between stuff happens and purposeful deception. All right? Here's what I mean by stuff happens. a lot of times these trailers get put together like long before the movie's final edit is completed, right? So they just send these trailer companies a whole ton of footage, let them put together the got, and then the final edit comes out, and sometimes footage they shot and gave to the trailer companies, sometimes that footage gets edited out of the film. I have actually very little doubt that that's probably the situation with this Mission Impossible thing. I have a feeling that this was a sequence in the movie, and then as the edit progressed, this got cut out of the film. But it was already in the trailer. Little shots like that, I don't consider that stuff deceptive marketing. I don't consider that deceptive. Yes, they're showing us something that is in the movie, but honestly, I think that's just a stuff happens kind of situation. It was in the movie when they're putting the trailer together, then when the final edit was done, it wasn't in the movie anymore. And hey, that happens. To me, where it gets deceptive is when, and we've seen this happen, is when the trailers mislead you about the kind of movie you're getting. A Bridge to Terabithia is a good example of that. Some people were complaining about, remember that Ryan Gosling movie? I think it was, what was it called? Drive. It was either Drive or Driver. Let's just go with Drive. There was a lot of people very upset. Actually, there was a lawsuit. Remember this? With the Ryan Gosling movie, there was a lawsuit that one woman launched because that was not the movie she thought it was going to be. She said, the trailers made me think it was going to be this kind of movie, and it's a totally different kind of movie. Because the trailers for Drive made it look like it was going to be this high intensity action thriller kind of thing, and it's really not. It's not at all. And so I think there's a difference between, hey, some shots ended up in the trailer that didn't quite end up in the movie itself. There's a difference between that and these trailers made you believe you were getting this kind of movie, but in actuality you were getting something else. That's the deceptive marketing. Do I think we're seeing an increase in deceptive marketing? Yeah, I do. And it's not rampant. I don't think it's a major problem yet, but I really hope studios start putting some more consideration, not just into, look, we understand you need your marketing to sell the movie. I get it. But studios, you got to balance that out with giving the audience an accurate representation of what it is they're going to be paying their money for. Like, if you promise me that I'm getting a brand new BMW and then I go outside and I get a new Prius. Actually, I kind of like Priuses. That's a bad example. But still, I was going to get this sporty BMW and instead, so I paid you the money for what I thought was getting a sporty BMW and I'm getting a Prius. You go, whatever, it's the same. It's got 4 wheels, got a steering wheel, get you from A to B, go for it. Like, you got to sell your movie, but you also need to give a fairly accurate representation to the audience of what they're getting for their money. And I think that's key, and I hope they clean that stuff up soon. All right. With that stuff all out of the way, guys, we've got some time left here. Let's go over and take some live questions. A bunch of you guys watching live, sending in some live questions, so let's go to those right now. All right. The first live question today comes to us from James Welsh, who writes, what did you think of the finale of Cloak and Dagger? Oh, I guess I'm not caught up. It was about a few days ago that Ann and I realized, oh my gosh, we haven't been watching Cloak and Dagger for like 4 weeks. Like, we got as far as like episode 4, and then we just totally forgot about it. So the last couple of days, I've watched a few more episodes to try to get caught up for the season finale. So I haven't watched the season finale yet. I will say this, though. I am disappointed in Cloak and Dagger. I thought the season started with promise. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, okay, I'm on board. You didn't blow my socks off, but this is intriguing. I'm on board. Especially the last couple of episodes I've watched, have been painfully slow. Like, no pace to them whatsoever. Painfully slow. I'll say this. I'm not even 100% I'm going to get to the finale. And that's too bad because, like I said, I think this was a show that started with some real promise and potential. I liked the first 2 episodes. But to me, it just has gone, it hasn't picked up any momentum for me, at any rate. I think I'm on like episode 7 now or something. But for me, it just has not got any momentum. So I have not seen the finale yet. I saw on some people reacting to the finale on Twitter saying they thought the finale was good, so maybe I will make sure I get to the finale. But yeah, I haven't seen the finale yet. I'm working my way up to it. I just hope it picks up, man, because as of right now, I don't have a lot of interest for a Cloak and Dagger Season 2. So let's just see how that all turns out. Jordan's channel writes, favorite John Schnepp moment. He answered a question and he said, I'm buying this. Wait, are we even in buy or sell? Doesn't matter because I'm still buying it anyway. Dude, I'm telling you what, Schnepp said that many times. That happened many times. We'd be on like one of the main topics and it's even now, we wouldn't even have been on Movie Talk at the time. We were doing a different show and he'll say that. And it's like, oh yeah, because we used to do buy and sell a lot. I've got a lot of favorite John Schnepp memories, and I'm sure we'll continue to share over the weeks and months. But yeah, that was always funny when that would happen. That was always funny when that would happen. Thanks for sharing that, Jordan. DC Patience writes, seems to be a positive shift in Star Wars fandom recently. Do you agree? If so, what changed? You know what? I do agree. I think there has been some positive momentum in the DC fandom recently. What I would attribute it to, I'm not sure. What I would like to think is a little bit of self-awareness set in. Because, here's the thing. So all of us, this happens to all of us. This happens to me. This happens to you. This happens to all of us. Sometimes we all act like dicks. And maybe we don't even mean to act like dicks. And we don't even realize we're acting like dicks. But we act like dicks sometimes. And then we catch ourselves in the mirror, or somebody comes up to, like, maybe a trusted friend comes up to us and says, hey, what's the deal? You're kind of acting like a dick. I'm not acting like a dick. Well, you kind of said this to that person when this, and this. Isn't that kind of dickish? And you go, yeah, maybe I've been acting like a dick. And maybe I need to stop that. I would like to think that, in the better part of human nature, that I think when, and I could be way wrong on this, but I think when, people like Kelly Marie and directors and other people are just saying, you know what? I don't even want to be around this group of fandom because they're just so poisonous. And they start leaving social media when you've got directors, like prominent directors, like the Mission Impossible Fallout director saying, oh, I've always wanted to do a Star Wars movie. Not anymore. Like when that starts happening, I would like to think that it made some people, maybe a chunk of people go, yeah, maybe I've been acting a little dickish. Like, look, it is not dickish to say, I don't like that movie. And I always make sure I take time to explain. It is not a dick thing to say, I don't like that movie. It is not a dick thing to say, I hate that movie. It's not a dick thing to say, here's why I hate that movie, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. That's being a film fan. That's being a film fan. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think what a lot of people did, and maybe unintentionally, was they crossed the line from expressing the dislike of a piece of art, saying, yeah, that art doesn't work for me. I hated it, or I just didn't like it, and here's why, blah, 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 blah. That's different from calling people names. And that's different from attacking anybody else who says they did like that piece of art that you didn't like. That's different from saying, well, I didn't like it because they're trying to get rid of white men. That's different. It's different from the sexism and the racism and the homophobia and all that kind of stuff. Just saying you didn't like a movie and that you hated it and expressing why and expressing your opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think maybe some people unintentionally probably started realizing, oh my God, I was actually doing a lot of name calling and I was actually doing this, all because I didn't like a movie. I would like to think that shift has happened because people are becoming a little bit more self-aware and going, you know what? It's cool for me to say I hate that movie, and I'll keep saying I hate the movie if people ask. Like, I'll keep saying I hate the prequels if people ask me. I'll say I hate the prequels. But I'm not going to call you a loser if you like them. I'm not going to call you an idiot if you like them. I'm not going to say George Lucas ruined my childhood if stuff like that. So I would like to think that it is humanity's better nature that is starting to come over people. And I'd like to think that that's the cause of it, the cause of the shift. That's what I'd like to think. So who knows? Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Rami J. Royster writes, so MoviePass is giving us the middle finger to not see movies such as Christopher Robin. What does that tell you about MoviePass? Well, I mean, what MoviePass is doing right now, as far as the changes to their business structure, and it is too little too late, but saying, look, they got to do things that make things financially feasible and financially viable. If they're realizing, hey, letting people see new release movies in the first 2 weeks is killing us financially, then you got to make a change. I honestly don't blame them for that. I don't blame them for their price increase. I don't blame them for limiting the usage, all that kind of stuff. Where I do blame them is that they knew all along that they could never sustain things the way they were doing it, but they just wanted to trick as many people as possible to sign up to their service so then they could screw them later. And that they could try to use this big subscription service as blackmail leverage to try to strong arm the movie studios and the movie theaters into forcing them to make deals with them with a membership base that signed up under false pretenses. That's what I blame them for. Like, here's the thing. If MoviePass had launched and said, we are a $15 a month service for unlimited movies, one movie a day, with the following limitation. You can only see any particular movie once, and you cannot see major release films in their first 2 weeks of release. After it's been in theaters for 2 weeks, you can then use MoviePass to see those movies. Honestly, had MoviePass started with that, I think that still would have represented a good deal. I still think that represents a good deal. Not a mind-blowing deal, but a good deal. And if they had come out of the gate and started with that, then that's cool. What you should do as a business is add features as you go. Don't start off and put yourself in a position where as we go, we're going to have to take things away from our customers. No, start off in a position where your plan is to give more things to your customers, not, oh, yeah, we're going to start here, tricked you into signing up. Now we're going to start taking some of those big advantages away from you. Like, do that. And I think that was one big part of the problem there with MoviePass. James Welsh writes, does it surprise you that Apple is now worth $1 trillion? Nope. First company in history. Did you guys notice that? That their market cap has hit. They are now worth a company that is worth $1 trillion. Absolutely nutty. Absolutely nutty. Like that, it is just the biggest company in the world. No other company in the world is worth $1 trillion. It is nuts. But no, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Rami J. Royster writes, eyes, lungs, pancreas, so little from MoviePass. I just want to take more and more from you. Amin writes, any plans on coming up to Fan Expo? Possibly have a meet and greet. Would love to meet you in person. If not, please let us know when and if you make plans. Okay, so here's the thing. I would like to come to Toronto Fan Expo. Toronto Fan Expo is a big, huge fan convention in the vein of a Comic-Con, but it happens in Toronto every year. It's a big festival. I've been there before. I like it a lot. I have wanted to make plans to go and have a panel there, but every time I look on the Fan Expo website, it says we're not taking applications for panels yet. Like, okay, but it's coming up really soon. When are you taking applications for panels? If I can get a panel at Fan Expo, I'll go. I'll go for sure. It gives me an excuse to get up and visit my family, visit home, see friends, meet some Toronto fans. That would be awesome. So I'm working on it. As soon as I know any more, I'll let you know, Min, for sure. James Welsh writes, one of my favorite pieces of music, and I lost James Welsh. There we go. James Welsh writes, one of my favorite pieces of music from a film is Now We Are Free from Gladiator. What do you think of it? Look, I love Gladiator, James. I do not know the specific piece of music you're talking about, though. So, I can tell you, I love the score in Gladiator. I love it throughout. I think the music throughout Gladiator is amazing. But honestly, I don't know which piece of music that is off the top of my head. So, unfortunately, I love that you're bringing up Gladiator, but unfortunately I can't comment on that because I don't know the piece specifically off the top of my head. Derek Woodron writes, Your rant on Transformers was too funny. Always love your rants. Every so often, someone should bring up a hot button topic just to see you rant. Who the fuck is Cup? Yeah. I mean, when you get me going on that original Transformers animated movie, like, I know a lot of people think about that and remember it fondly. It just pisses me off. Whenever I think about that Transformers animated movie, man, I just get hotly pissed off. Because I just remember after watching that movie and then going back to my room and looking at my toy collection, realizing all these toys I've now collected, they're all dead. They're all dead. And that was the day, honestly, that was the day I stopped collecting Transformers toys. Because I realized, what was the point in buying them? They're just going to kill off all of them. And again, I would have been fine if they had just killed off Optimus Prime. It would have hurt, big pain, but it would have had great dramatic effect and great dramatic purpose and great narrative purpose. I would have been okay. But they killed everybody. And I walked into my room that I had dozens, I'm not going to say hundreds, but dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of Transformers figures. And when I would get, you remember the Transformers box? I used to cut out the front graphic of the character from the box and the back power bar of the character and their story description, and I would paste them up on my bedroom walls. I kid you not. I didn't have a lot of girls coming into my room when I was younger. So I pasted them up on my wall. So my bedroom wall was filled with these Transformers. The Transformers packaging was on my walls. All my Transformers were out there. And I remember walking into my room and going, these are all, just like a Thanos snap, these are all now obsolete. They're all obsolete. These are all dead characters now. And I thought, I'm not going to go buy a fucking Cup figure. I'm not buying fucking Rodimus Prime figure. Although I must admit, I eventually did buy a Rodimus Prime figure. I'm not going to buy fucking Ultra Magnus or Wheelie or Blur or, however many of the rest of whatever the rest of those stupid ones were. I'm not buying any of these because you just might kill them off later, and none of them were as cool as the originals. So, yeah, that got me going. When I think on those things, that gets me going. Technovine writes, John, speaking of Disney, anyone excited for the Nutcracker and the Four Realms this November? Also, remember the Nutcracker 3D in 2009, just awful. You know what? I know next to nothing about this new Nutcracker movie, except, like most of you, I've seen the trailer. The trailer looks gorgeous. Now, I have no idea if the movie's going to be any good. I don't even know if the movie looks good. But visually, I thought the trailer was visually breathtaking. So I will not say I'm somebody who's excited for this movie, but I will say I'm intrigued by it. Just because I was just floored by the visual design of everything. And I thought everything looked breathtakingly beautiful. So I'm intrigued, but I don't know enough about the movie per se and what direction they're going with this movie to feel excited for it one way or the other. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. Angel Fuentes writes, if the Batman will focus on the detective aspect of his mythos, which crime drama do you think could be a good influence for the story? I say Usual Suspects with Gotham villains. From New York City. Well, I mean, that's tough for me to say because Usual Suspects is one of my all-time favorite movies. Like Usual Suspects, as you guys know, whenever I've given my top 10 of all time, Usual Suspects is always on there. The Usual Suspects is one of my top 10 all-time favorite movies. I don't know, because like Usual Suspects was not told from the perspective of the detective, right? The detectives were kind of a secondary character. So there's something you can go in there. I would love like an influence like, what is it, The Long Halloween? I would like an influence like The Long Halloween. I think is what I would be down for. So hold on a second. Like you take, I'm not saying specifically adapt The Long Halloween, but like something in that vein where it's some kind of murder mystery with a supervillain element to it would be really sweet. Don't put the Joker in it. Not at this point. Not with two other Jokers already out there. But it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I would like to see like maybe a traditional murder drama motif put into a Batman movie. I think that would be cool, and it really would give Batman the excuse to really focus on the world's greatest detective aspect. So put a little bit of Sherlock Holmes in there, give him his own Moriarty, and I think we're golden. And I think we can have some really cool stuff there lined up if they do it the right way. And we'll just have to wait and see if that turns out. All right. In Poor Taste Humor writes, do you think a company like Cinemia or AMC would buy MoviePass in order to grab that subscriber base? Also, thanks for the show and all you do. No, they would not. Because Cinemia does not want MoviePass's subscriber base, because their subscriber base, Cinemia doesn't want to do MoviePass's business. If you buy MoviePass, then you are now legally obligated to keep giving their members what they have with their MoviePass plan. And Cinemia doesn't want to do that because they're smart. AMC, if you buy MoviePass, well, you have to keep giving those people what they paid for under the MoviePass terms. Because remember, a lot of people signed up for a year at a time, so they are owed a movie a day for another year, right? I don't think AMC will want to take that on. Not to mention, MoviePass is a pariah of a name now. Nobody wants to own MoviePass. Nobody wants to touch MoviePass. So getting the subscriber base would actually be a negative because it's going to burn money for you. Why go out and buy MoviePass and take their legal obligations when you can just entice people to carve up their MoviePass cards and come join your company instead? And that's what's happening in droves. So no, I don't think anybody's going to be interested. At least not a Cinemia, not a AMC. It would be a very bad business decision to try to pick something like that. It's an understandable question. It's a fair question, but that's why I don't think it would be feasible for them to do that. Mr. Dobby33 writes, will you come to Calgary Expo next year? I have no plans to go to Calgary Expo, but I would be very tempted because I have several friends in Calgary that I have not seen in a while. That it's funny, none of them are from Calgary. It's just over the last number of years, a couple of groups of friends of mine have all just happened to move to Calgary. Calgary is gorgeous, by the way. So it would be really cool to do that because it would give me an excuse to go up and see some friends I haven't seen in years. I mean, I would actually love that. It would give me a great excuse to take Anne to Banff as well. Well, maybe I should make plans to go to Calgary Expo. Maybe I should. I don't know. I'll think about it. It's a really good question. I will think about that. Christopher Benson writes, if the new Halloween and Terminator films are successful, will that give Fox confidence to release a new Alien film, ignoring the sequel after Aliens? Nah. The Alien thing has just been run into the ground. People have lost more and more stuff. Now, look, I'm not saying there's never going to be another Alien film, but, Terminator is not Alien. Halloween is not Alien. They're different properties. You can't just go, well, if that one works for one, that means it'll work for the other. It doesn't work like that. And Aliens is a thing that they have just kept putting out movies over, and just people's interest has declined and declined and declined, and then the last one flopped. Which is really too bad, because I actually thought Alien Covenant wasn't all that bad. I liked Alien Covenant. But I know a lot of people hated it, and that's fine. I got a kick out of, so no, honestly, I don't think whatever happens to Halloween or Terminator is in any way, there's no connection between that and the Alien franchise, and the health of the Alien franchise right now is just in a place, and they just had Covenant, and it didn't work. So for those reasons, no, I don't think that's going to influence that at all. Corey Gaines writes, wasn't Tom Holland reportedly on set at Venom? There was an inaccurate rumor about that. That's all I'm going to say. There was an inaccurate rumor about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. Christopher Benson writes, Die Hard needs John McTiernan, not Len Wiseman. Look, Len Wiseman can do good stuff. You just got to have the right script, and you just got to execute. So I think Len Wiseman can do a good job. He didn't do a good job with Live Free or Die Hard, but okay, that was one movie. Now we move on to the next. And we'll see what happens. Just thinking just drop one director in there, it'll change everything. I'm not sure. Although it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad if we heard that he was directing. It would not be bad at all. Barth Revan writes, 4 questions. Well, I'll answer one of them. What is your name? What is your quest? What is your favorite color? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? 6, 4, no, wait. Very nice Holy Grail reference there. I love that movie. You know what? I haven't watched that movie in about 4 or 5 years. I need to sit down and watch that again. Brave. Although, I don't know if I'm sure a lot of you guys don't, but For those of you who watch my Warcraft streams when I play Warcraft, what I often do is I will often run away. And usually when I start running away for something, I start singing the Brave Sir Robin song. He bravely ran away, Sir Robin. And I'll be like running away over hills and everything. I'll be singing the brave, 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 brave Sir Robin song as I'm running away. That's just kind of something that I do. Anyway, Mark Moore writes, when a movie budget is $3 to $5 million and you have multiple big name actors, how do they get paid if it flops? Well, their pay is part of the budget. They don't pay actors out of the money the movie makes. You pay your actors prior to the movie coming out. So if you're a studio, if your movie budget is $3 to $5 million, then that means those actors agreed to get paid a certain amount of money to your, like, the actor's salary is a part of the budget. So if you have big name actors, but your budget's $5 million, well, that means the big name actors agreed to do it for a very, very small price. If you have a big name actor who wants $10 million, well, then your movie budget isn't $5 million. Your movie budget is $15 million. If you have two $10 million actors, then your budget isn't $5 million. Your budget is $25 million. The actor's salary is a part of the budget. And actors get paid before the movie comes out. Now, some actors will have clauses in their contract that they also get points. Like they get certain percentages of the box office. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And there are some actors that get deals like that. That's fine. But for the most part, actors get paid prior to a movie coming out. Actors' salaries come out of the budget. So if your movie budget is $10 million, then you have to hire actors whose combined salary will make your budget not go any higher than $10 million. So you say you got $5 million for all the other stuff and $5 million for actor salaries. Well, then you got to hire all your actors with just $5 million. You see what I'm saying? So if I have a budget of $10 million, I can't hire $45 million worth of actors. I have a budget of $10 million. I have to keep all my costs, including the cost of the actors, to under $10 million. That's why you don't see a lot of big A-list name superstars who draw $8 million paychecks in a $2 million movie, because the $2 million movie can't afford to have them in it. Or the actor went, you know what? I love this script so much and I love this director so much. I'll do this one for $1 million. I normally ask for $8 million, but for this project, I'll do it for $1 million. Like sometimes that happens too. But yeah, actors' salaries come out of the budget, not afterwards. Okay. Oh my goodness, we're already over an hour. Okay, how much further do I have to go? Oh, there's still a whole hell of a lot of questions. Okay, so I will take one more question, and then I will take the rest of the questions that have come in, guys, and I will put those all to be answered on the next companion video, or the next two companion videos, because I got a little bit of a backup going on here. Vince Carter of Mars writes, any theories on where Captain Marvel has been? No, none. I have zero theories. She's in stasis. She's been living among us. She's on the moon. She's in another dimension. I mean, I have no idea where they're going to say she was. Maybe she was encased in ice just 15 feet away from Captain America that whole time. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, there's literally 1,000 different possibilities about where she's. So I honestly have no theory whatsoever. If I was absolutely forced to give one theory, I don't think she's on Earth. If I had to give one theory right now about where Captain Marvel has been, my theory will be she has not been on Earth. But that's the biggest and best theory I can have and that I can go with. So that will do it. Now, everybody else who sent in from Anthony Franco all the way down, don't worry, I'm going to be taking your questions that you sent in, and they will be answered in a companion video over the next couple of days, so keep your eyes open for that. I just have run out of time here. All right, guys, before we sign out here, it's time for us to check in on the stock price. Maybe it's gone up. It was at 7 cents, and it is still holding at 7 cents. Hasn't dropped anymore. It's only dropped 30.4% today, down to 7%, but it hasn't dropped anymore. So let's keep our eyes on that MoviePass stock. All right, guys, that will do it for today. Listen, do me a favor. If you are somebody who enjoys this programming, do me a favor. Head over to www.patreon.com/JohnCampea and get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter makes sure these shows actually are able to get made, and also what benefits there are to being Patreon supporters, like audio-only versions of the podcasts, some behind-the-scenes videos, our Facebook group, which is an awesome group of people over there. And then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too, which would be awesome. Listen, guys, also, do me a favor. It's very important. I was reminded to remind people about this, but it is very important. You may not think it's a big deal, but it is. Click that thumbs up button on this video. Click the thumbs up button. Leave a comment below. Give your opinion on any or all the topics that we discussed here today. And don't forget about the question of the day, guys. In the description below at the very bottom, there's a link to where you go and vote for question of the day. Is the Black Manta information a spoiler for the Aquaman movie, or is it not? Leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys, that will do it for me for now. Don't forget, I'll be back a little bit later today at 2 p.m. for open mic, and maybe I'll see if I can do a little bit of Warcraft streaming later, too. I'm at level 64, almost at level 65. I got my flying mount now. Most of you don't care, but I'm excited about it. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.